Hello and good morning, for me at least. It's early in the morning on Monday. So welcome. I think it's the 5th, no, the 4th. Okay, off to a good start here. Good morning and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Umbriel and I make YouTube videos all about knitting. Sometimes some crocheting, but mostly knitting. And I'm really excited about this podcast episode today because I have a lot to share with you. I have, let's see, 3 FOs. Let's see, 5 WIPS and some plans for later. So I have so much information. I put everything down in my notes because otherwise I'll forget. And by the way, I think this is episode 16, so it's going pretty fast. I mean, I don't know, 16, that's a lot of episodes. So in case you want to watch the rest of them, if this is your first time watching or you've only watched a few, I'll link the playlist down below. Yeah, maybe I'll tell you a little bit about what is a knitting podcast in case you don't know. I'm assuming you do know, but I'll talk to you about my finished objects, about my works in progress, and then about my plans that are upcoming. So yeah, all right, time to get started. First, I'll tell you what I'm wearing. I'm wearing my cute little camisole here. It's called the Sassy Classy Top from Camisole on Ravelry, and it's this Camisole fingering weight. I knitted this with cotton merino from Knitting for Olive, and I really like that yarn. So I was actually thinking about that. I talked about it in a previous podcast that I didn't really like the merino of Knitting for Olive. I do, but it's just pretty pricey. But I do think the cotton merino is like worth the money. So yeah, but I really like this pattern. There's actually one of my WIPs is the long sleeve version of this camisole. Yeah, I really like it. What else can I say? Oh, the colorway dark ochre. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing. Then let's get straight into it because I have a lot to tell you and I don't have all the time in the world. Okay, so finished objects. I have them right here. First off, my Musselburgh hat. So this is, excuse the noise, that's my neighbors. This is the Musselburgh hat by Isolde Teague. It's, I've knitted it. I hid the label in here. I'll show you that first before I take apart the whole hat. I used Malabrigo Arroyo. Yeah, it says it's a DK/sport weight, 100% super rush merino, and the colorway that I used was the Aniversario 005. So yeah, that made this hat, and it's a Musselburgh hat, and I made it even that it's a little slouchy. I'm not going to put it on now. It's pretty hot today. It's going to be like 30 degrees Celsius this week, and it's like September, so that's pretty crazy. But I made it long enough to have a fold over brim and that it's slouchy. So I'll show you the whole thing. I started on this end, and actually as I was knitting it, I wasn't really super excited about the color because here it's like really yellowy. A lot of yellow, a lot of green, but then slowly as you continue, it got more and more purple. And that's the reason I liked it. So even if you keep it like this, look at the color difference between left and right. So I prefer this side a lot. Yeah, so that's the nice thing about a Musselburgh hat because you need to fold it in itself anyway. So, oh yeah, about the construction, you start in the middle. I'm doing I'll link down below which, it's in my project page, which kind of cast on method I use, but you need to start in the middle. So it's like, there's a couple ways to do it, but I found one that I really like. I'll like put it somewhere, or it will definitely be in my Ravelry project page. By the way, everything that I talk about, you can find below. And those will be links to my Ravelry project pages. And in there, I take a lot of notes and I put down needle sizes and everything. But please let me know if you can't find something or you have questions. So just feel free to ask anyway. I don't mind. So anyway, you do increases, then you knit the whole thing, and then at the end you do decreases. And I did something pretty smart, if I do say so myself, because if you want to knit up your whole skein, you kind of want to, sorry, I'm distracted by the noise upstairs. I'm very sorry if you can hear it. It's just, you know, living in apartments is a struggle sometimes. And now I'm like worried if you can hear it. So I'm sorry if you can, and I'm sorry if that makes me seem distracted. So then you know what's going on. Anyway, so you want to know how much yarn you need for the decreases if you want to make the whole thing, like use up a whole skein. So because then you can knit everything, and then you can just have like the slightest amount left for the decreases, and then you can start the decreases and then have no yarn left over, and it's great because then you don't have any leftovers, anything. So what I did is I measured how many grams I used for the increases. So until here, that was about 10 grams, 9 grams, something like that. It's in my Ravelry project page. So what I did is I had a center pull ball from my yarn winder, and I wrapped off yarn from the outside, just like got it into a ball, and then waited until I had 10 grams left. Does that make sense? So I was knitting from the inside, but I took yarn from the outside because that would be the final yarn I would have. And I took maybe half a gram or 1 gram of like a safety, like a buffer. And then I put in a stitch marker into the yarn, so through the thread, and then I wound it back up on the outside. So that was great because then I didn't have to weigh it. I didn't have to bring a scale or anything. I could just knit it around until I got to the stitch marker, and then I knew, okay, I need to start doing the decreases. So that's what I did. And now I have a super, super long tube that goes into itself. So I blocked it and it stretched out a lot more because the first time I put it on, it was a little tight for folded brim and slouchy. It wasn't slouchy when I was fold up the brim. Actually, I finished it at my brother's house and he was like, oh, that's a nice hat. I was like, you said you didn't want any hats. So maybe he does. I don't know. Maybe only if he really likes it. But this one is for me. Yeah. So I fold it into itself. Yeah, it's so like hard to show that, but I was trying to put the ends on top of each other, so they're actually not on top of each other. I can feel on the inside where the end is, and I try to put that on the end and like wiggle it into place. So this would be the inside because that's the yellow side. And then here is the beautiful, beautiful outside. Oh, I like it so much. It's exactly what, like the same feeling I get from this hat as I did from the skein when I saw it in the store. I bought this yarn in this really cute yarn store in Duluth. I don't remember the name, but yeah, it was really cute. But there's my Musselburgh hat. Okay, that's the first finished object, so I should keep going. Second finished object is the bear paw socks. So these are the bear paw socks for my boyfriend. That's why they're so big. This is the size, not the biggest size, because I made him bear paw socks. Oh, the bear paw socks by Andrew Mowry or Trader Knits. I didn't make the biggest size because I made the biggest size before, and the size is really only the width size because she lets you choose the length, like until you start the increases for the heel. Oh, it's toe up. So until you start the increases for the heel, all the, she says, okay, knit until you reach so many centimeters that, okay, this doesn't make sense. She says, okay, look at how long your foot is, how long you want your sock to be, and then knit until like 7 centimeters before the end or something. So he has very big feet, but they're not super wide. So actually the first pair that I made him were a little too big. So I made him these, and these are really good. So these were the like second largest size, but they're also the same width as the women's largest size, which I made the medium size for myself, and I thought they were kind of small. So the width size of these would almost be my size. Anyway, yeah, he's been wearing them. It was cold and now it's hot again. So weather in Europe has been crazy, and I feel like it has been so different in every country. Like the Netherlands has been just super cold and rainy in July and August, and we came back in July from the US. June was apparently super beautiful, but we weren't here. And now September starts off with like a heat wave. So what's going on? Anyway, we can still like go out and swim because we only have done that once this summer in the Netherlands, and usually we go out like a bunch of times. But that would be nice to do that this week. So anyway, bear paw socks. And last time I said I could find the yarn that I used, the like pretty variegated yarn, which is here. So this is just a hobby 4-ply sock yarn, light blue. And then the other one, the really pretty variegated yarn or stripy yarn, is, I looked it up, I have it right here. Nordlys from Viking of Norway sock yarn. They have a lot of really pretty colorways, I see. And I have the colorway 964, so yeah. I've talked a lot about these, so I'll just leave to that. Bear paw socks. And then a very exciting and long-awaited finished object. And it is finally finished, but I have to say I am sad about it. So that's not very good. But here is my Friday tee. So this is the Friday tee by Petite Knit. And as you can see already, what I did is I finished it, I blocked it, then I wore it, and it fit really pretty in the morning. I wore it to work, to like a congress kind of thing. And then as I was there, it was stretching out, stretching out, stretching out. And I felt just like a little embarrassed. I don't know, it just like really didn't fit really nicely. Like the arms were like flaring out. So it's actually when I wear it, and look how big the armhole is now. Like it was just really cute, especially when I first finished it before blocking. But it grew so much. And like I said before, I made this with a lot of negative ease. So it's actually intended with positive ease. And right now, if it's like too big for my liking, like look at how big this is. Like I guess it's the broken rib that makes it really stretchy. I don't know. Like, if you could help me figure out why it is the way it is. Because, so I have a few things I'm thinking. I used knitting for olive merino for this. That's the main color. And then sock yarn from Stranded Dye Works for the contrast colorway. And what I think is because the sample is knitted in Petite Knit Sunday from Sannes Garn or something, which is a little thicker. The knitting for olive merino is pretty thin. So it's actually like, it says it's a fingering, but I would say it's light fingering, which would make it a lot more drapey and a lot less, like, look at this, a lot more drapey and a lot less sturdy. Like, the sample looks super, oops, sorry, I hit the camera. The sample looks really sturdy, but this just like stretching out on every side. Oh man, I'm just like, this took so much time and I've really enjoyed knitting it, but it's just so devastating when it disappoints. Oops, sorry. It disappoints, you know? I mean, I know how I can fix the neckline. I'll just put in an elastic. I've done that before, but I don't really like to have to do that. I really prefer if the garment just stays in shape by itself. But these armholes are just, like, it's not only that it's like big around the edge, but it's like big here too. Like, I don't know what to do. What would you do? What would you do if you have knitted a garment, put in a lot of time? I don't know, like, I made these sleeves really short. Yeah. The silly thing is, I made a reel about my Friday tee just as I like was finished. I finished blocking it and I had it like folded up and I was like, oh, it's so pretty. So I like filmed a little bit and then I put in the description everything I did to make it with a lot less yarn than was recommended. So if you're interested in that, it's on my Instagram. I like written down everything I did because the recommended amount of yarn was like almost 1,200 meters of yarn, and I made it for the main color and I made it with 750. So that's pretty good. But like, I did that. Then the next day I wore it and I'm like, oh no. Like, I was all like, this is the prettiest thing I've ever made. And then it disappointed. It's still pretty. Like, if you look at it like this, it's so pretty. Oh man. Yeah, so I don't know what to do because when I wear it, I just don't feel like it's very pretty. I did see, I was watching Nee Knits. She's a podcaster too. She's a lot bigger following than I do, so you probably know her. But she made a top, I think it was the Audrey top by Petite Knit, and then she just ran it through a cycle, but it was a yarn that could be in like that you could put in a washing machine, and this isn't. But I'm almost thinking of like trying to shrink it, which is crazy because I made like 3 sizes down from what was recommended with my bust circumference, but I'm wearing this and I'm like, it's too big still. Like, I don't know. Maybe I just really don't like it when things are like flowy on my body. Well, like flowy on my body is like one thing that's like okay because then I can tuck it in. Like, the body isn't really a problem that it's so flowy because I usually just tuck stuff in my pants anyway. But the armhole, like, it's just like actually like flaring. Maybe I need to put it on for a second. So now you might think, oh, that looks really cute. Yeah, it does look pretty cute because it's really nice It's really nice. But then look at the arm. Like, it's like, I don't know if you can tell. But here, that's what I mean. Like, it's just like flaring out all the way. Look at that. And then this, yeah, it's fine. I can just tuck it in to my pants. But also the neckline, it's like, especially when you wear it all day, like it already shrunk in a little bit after I wore it all day. But the neckline is just like opening up, which is fine, but I just like it when, like exactly how it was when I was knitting it. And I know that that's broken rib, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's short sleeves. I know that. That's what I did. But the flaring out like that, I don't know. It was just so much nicer before. Okay, let's switch back to my other thing. All right, so that's my Friday tee. I love the way the colors look. I love the way it looks if I hold it like this, but I'm a little sad, to be honest. So if you have any ideas why it happened and how I can maybe solve it, please let me know. Yeah, I would love to know if you have any ideas. So, okay, those were my finished objects. Let's keep going. I decided in my podcast from now on, I'll just only show you things that I worked on between the last episode and this episode. So kind of like active stuff, and things that I don't work on, I'll just not mention it. So if you have any questions about things that I showed before, just let me know. Then I can tell you how it's going. You can also check out my Ravelry project page, even though I've been just putting stuff into hibernation because I can't handle all the WIPs that I have. So here is the long sleeve version of the Sassy Classy top. This is the Sassy Classy shirt. And it's by the same designer, Anne-Catherine. And I'm knitting this in Knitting for Olive Merino. And it's really pretty. It has a cable on the front and a cable on the back, and it like flows into the sleeve. And I've just been knitting on it. So I've been talking about this before. I don't know if all the decreases that were done in the body, if I want those, but now I'm thinking, now that one has been growing so much, maybe it's fine. Maybe I should just own it and just embrace the tightness, because it will grow again, just like everything is when you wear it. So yeah, I don't have that much to update you on. I don't remember where I was last time. But yeah, I'm like halfway the sleeve. No, not halfway, like a little bit in the sleeve. And this sleeve is almost done. I did block it to see how it would fit after blocking. And this sleeve is pretty much like the right length. I did want to have like sleeves that would go up to here. So you can like really tuck your hands in. I really like that with long sleeved t-shirts. Also for if I want to like take this hiking when it's really cold, because I feel like that's pretty weird to do, isn't it? Like I'm just knitting this really delicate shirt and then I want to go hiking in it. But anyway, it seemed like a really good idea. I was hiking with a friend in Scotland a while ago in May, and she had this merino wool underlayer, and I started knitting on this one then. That's how long it's been on my needles. But she was wearing that, and then I thought, oh, that's actually really nice. If I finish this, then I can wear it as an underlayer. But it's also just really pretty as a shirt, although it's pretty see-through. So I was hoping blocking would help with that, but it didn't really. But anyway, knitting needles 3.25 Chao Gu needles. yeah, and I've just been doing magic loop on the sleeves, as you can tell. Yeah, so everything is knit just in the same needles. I like that. And then the rest is on try-on tubing. Yeah, I don't have that much more to tell you about that. Oh yeah, one thing. I thought I only had one ball left after the ball that I was working on, but I found the other one. So I have 2 more left, which is good because then it will be a full length shirt. The next WIP was on the other side of the room. I put everything here, I thought, but that one was over there. So this is the Camisole number 5 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. And I've just been grabbing this one because most of my WIPs are dark colored. And in the darkness in my living room, it's hard to work on it. So this one isn't dark colored, so it was easier to work on this one. So I've finished the back. I was still working on the back. I finished the back, joined it around, and knitted a little bit of the body. Then, I don't know if you remember, but last time I shared, or the time before, but last time I shared this top, I had a very big like neck edge, and I ripped it all out and redid it. So I picked up way too many stitches the first time, but I did pick up, I think, the same amount of stitches or even less stitches than the pattern recommends. I think the pattern recommends 3 out of 4, and I think I did 2 out of 3, and it was still like flaring out like crazy. And then I put elastic in, it didn't work. It was too much fabric. So I ripped it all out, which was a pain because this is double knitted and then you graft or you Italian bind off the two, like the front and the back together, basically. So I had to take out the giant neck edge like bind off that I did. So I was like with my needle, but it was kind of meditative, and I just, at some point I just felt like doing it, and then I just did it, and then it was over. So it was okay. But then I redid it, and I picked up 1 out of 2 and then 2 out of 3. So I did pick up 1, skip 1, pick up 1, pick up 1, skip 1, pick up 1, skip 1, pick up 1, pick up 1, skip 1. So yeah, that gave me a beautiful neck edge. So if you're ever knitting this, I put it in my Ravelry page too, so you can save that or something, so if you want to find it another time. But yeah, that's what I did. So that's how I made it work. And I'm really nervous about making the edges, the double knitted edges for the armholes, because I feel like it's going to be the same thing, and then it's going to be so much work because look how giant this armhole is. So I think I'm already going to go, like, if she says 3 out of 4, I'll do 2 out of 3. I don't know, maybe I'll do the same thing as I did here, but I don't want the armholes to like snug it all the way in. Okay, that's the thing I need to think about. But that's my Camisole number 5, and I'm using yarn from Color Mart. Color Mart is this, yeah, you can buy yarn there, and it's like all these leftover yarns, and this was 30% cashmere, 70% merino. So this would be really nice and soft after I block and wear it a couple times. Now it's like rough, but I've made a sweater in this, and that one is really, really nice. So held together with like an alpaca, brushed alpaca. So, but really soft. Oh, and this is in my Loop London project bag that I stained. All right, next up, my new cast-ons. So the new cast-ons, I'll start with a little sock project because I'm filming this. So I'm making a little video about these, but I've decided I'll just share everything in my knitting podcast. And if you're interested, then you can just look out for that video. I'm not gonna like keep anything a surprise. So here are my Oona socks that I'm knitting 2 at a time. The Oona socks are a pattern by Omi Knits from the top of my head, and it is in the book 52 Weeks of Socks, Volume 1 by Lene Magazine. Yeah, it's just really pretty lace pattern, and it's really easy to remember how to do. And I'm using the yarn that I won from, yeah, the Make Along from Brook Willow, which was the yak sock yarn from Life in the Long Grass in the colorway Clove. And I'm usually not a brown person, but this is super pretty. Look how nice tonal yarn is. Hand-dyed yarn that is one color. It's called a tonal. So it has like slightly lighter, slightly darker pieces in there. And then it's a tonal. And it's really pretty. Oh yeah, an alteration that I made. I did my folded cuff from my Kirsten Bosch socks pattern instead of just a regular cuff. I thought it looked pretty. And also because I did 2 at a time, at the start I messed something up. All of a sudden I was knitting on the, like with a long tail cast on, I was knitting on the like long tail and not on the yarn. Yeah. So I'm making a little video about this, so keep your eyes peeled if you're interested. That was totally inspired by Eliza, okay? Which is another knitting YouTuber here on YouTube that I like to watch. She makes a lot of videos about 52 Weeks of Socks. So if you like that kind of knitting vlog kind of thing, I would recommend you to look at her channel and let her know that I sent you there. All right, that's my Oona socks. Then I have 2 more WIPS to show you. The first one I showed in my acrylic stash down video, and that's this acrylic sweater. And I was planning on doing this one for my for my next upcoming acrylic stash down videos, but it's such a beast. So okay, I made the back panel of this 80s sweater from this magazine, and that was all fine. This is pretty crazy, but I started knitting this when I first got back into knitting, like back and forth color work, like who am I? But I did it and it looks pretty good, although I've been just mixing different yarn weights and everything because I didn't know what was going on, but it's fine. I mean, it looks pretty good. But the problem is this red yarn. So there are holes everywhere. I'm not going to poke them too much because I don't want to unravel anything too much. But that's a problem because the red yarn has been breaking everywhere. So I need to fix that, and I need to do that by, I was going to pick up stitches on one side of the red and then pick up stitches on the other side of the red, cut out the red, knit 1 row of red on one of the sides, and then graft together. So because it's 2 rows, but that will take a lot of time because there's 1, 2, 3 stripes of red in the back panel, and I've already made 1 stripe in the front panel. So that would be 4 times of doing that. And it just seems like so much work. So this might be on hold again, like it has been for like 1.5 years. So, or 2 years maybe, I don't even know. Long time. Yeah, 2 years, 2.5. Wow, I've been knitting for a long time now. like obsessively, like we're doing right now. Because I have been knitting all my life. I don't know if I told you that, but I learned how to knit like when I was 7 or something. So I remember knitting scarves all the time, like on the couch downstairs, like in my parents' house. And then I didn't even know that patterns existed. Like I just learned from my mom, like how to knit, like just knit stitch. And then she had a book, and the book didn't have any patterns in it. So this is a little side ramble. The book didn't have any patterns in it, but it did have like different stitches in it. So then I learned how to do a purl stitch, and then I saw how to combine purl and knit. This was when I was a teenager. This was a little later. So then I did make a whole scarf in seed stitch, I think. Pretty cool. And just because I had like how to do the stitch pattern. And I made, because I didn't know that there were knitting patterns, I made a hat flat. So I just made like a really long thing, and then I just decreased the way, and then I just sewed it together, and that was a gift for my brother. So see, I already made him a hat. I was talking about my brother before that he liked my Musselburgh hat, but I made him that hat and he lost it. So see, he should have just kept it. It was this really cute, like really slouchy hat, and I made a pom-pom on it, and it was like gray with a blue pom-pom. It's pretty cute. Yeah. Okay. Enough about that. If you want to know more about that, let me know. I'll gladly talk more about just random stuff about knitting in my past. But yeah. Okay, and then my final whip and new cast on that I'm really happy about. You might have seen it in the background. It is my poppy tee. Ta-da! So this is really funny. I was gonna see Oppenheimer with my boyfriend, and I was like, I don't have any plain linen around. Let me cast on a new t-shirt that is just plain stockinette. And then I was just rushing through the yoke. Oh man. And this is not a short yoke, because it's like all the way to here. You have to do all these things, and I was knitting one ball a day, which I thought was going pretty fast. I'm knitting this in Drops Cotton Merino in the colorway 8. I think it was navy. It's a really nice yarn. It is a superwash merino and a cotton, but it's super nice and like thick and sturdy. And really, I would love to have a sweater in this, because I feel like all my wool sweaters are kind of too hot for most of the time. So I feel like this would be a really nice alternative. But cotton merino, I had 7 balls. I had one for a hat for my boyfriend together. I have a red and a gray one. He wanted a striped hat for later. And then I got 6 more because I thought, oh, then I can make another Coletti, because I made a Coletti already with Sundays Garn Duo. And this has the same composition, and it's nicer. It's less prickly. It's really nice. So good dupe for the expensive yarn. So Drops Cotton Merino, and I had 7 balls in total, and then I wanted to make the poppy tee. Oh yeah, the thing was that it says it's a DK, but I felt like it was more of a sport weight, and the poppy tee asked for a sport weight, but I didn't have enough yarn. But I thought petite knit always overestimates the amount of yarn that you need, so I'll just see how far I get. And this is how far I am with 5 balls of the yarn. So I finished this sleeve, and I'm almost done with this one. I just started the ribbing. And yeah, I it might be a little short. And I tried it on yesterday and it was a little like poofy, big. As you know, I really like negative ease. So hashtag team negative ease. I already saw some comments about that, which makes you really happy. Maybe we can start a movement. But it is actually a little too big still, and I'm making the size small, but I think my gauge is a little too big because I'm using the Drops Cotton Merino that's actually a DK, and this calls for a sport. So I do think the yarn is a little thicker than a sport weight, but I thought it was a little thinner than DK weight. But it's really nice. It's a really nice stitch. But you can really see when I made like a bigger stitch somewhere, like it has really good stitch definition, and that's why you can really see your mistakes. So keep that in mind. I love the construction, by the way. So you start with the back, then you pick up stitches for the front, and then later you pick up these stitches too, but it just looks like such a continuous line. Like it's really good pattern making. It's so beautiful. Like you can't even tell when the picking up stitches ended and when just like regular increases start. Like look how seamless that looks. It's really, really a beautiful pattern with a lot of like beautiful little details. So I also really like, she did like a purl round before the rib of the neck. The neck you do at the like later, but I already want to do it. But there's a purl round just before it, just like there's a purl round just before the sleeve ribbing. It's really pretty. Yeah. So I'll probably finish this one like in the next couple days. And I'm thinking of doing a couple of decreases here. I wish I would have started them sooner, but oh well. So that's my poppy tee. I'm really happy with it. Can you tell how much navy I'm knitting? Yep. Sometimes I can't even tell these skeins apart with the knitting for olive ones. That's okay. So then finally, I showed you the yarn at the start. So I bought this beautiful yarn because I am going to join, the first time ever, I'm going to join the West Knits Mystery Knit Along. So in case you don't know, because the first time I heard about it, I thought everybody was talking about the MKAL, and I was like, what is the MKAL? So in case you don't know, I don't want you to be excluded from everything. So it is a mystery knit along organized by Stephen West, a knitwear designer who makes a lot of beautiful shawls. And then every October, he does a whole month of making a shawl together with the knitting community. So how you can join is you purchase the pattern on Ravelry, and I think you can do that right now. You purchase the pattern and then you get clues. I don't know how you get the clues yet, but I think they'll just send you an update or something, and then you can look at the clues. And basically what you do, you need 4 skeins of fingering weight yarn, 100 grams. And then he tells you how to use them, and then at the end you have learned a lot of new knitting techniques, and then you have a beautiful shawl. So you only see 3 skeins here. That's because I started off having these. I had all these like little mini skeins that were just all together from VMCJ sock yarn. I bought this from her Instagram. I think she has a web shop now. I still had this, and I thought, oh, that would be really pretty to make like a gradient around. So it's called the Geogradient. And I watched this video, and then I got all inspired, and then I just looked on Stephen and Penelope. I even have their project bag. yeah, I went on their website and then I put this together. So the gradient would be this. So I start with this Live in the Long Grass. I know the colorway. One of them is called Queen, of these two, the Live in the Long Grass. This one is called Solar System. Oh, this one is Queen, this one. And this one is Noon. So I started with the Live in the Long Grass Noon, which is this really pretty light pink, peachy, with some speckles. Then I go into the mini skeins thing, that's like light brown and pink. Then I go into the Queen colorway, and then at the end, I love this color with like the just yellow. I love it. And it's the colorway is Solar System. So I thought that's really cool because the knit along is called Geogradient. So it's kind of like space themed. Solar System, pretty cool. So that's my gradient. So that will be my plan for October, and I'm just so excited about it. I mean, I could wait for a little bit to share it, but I just wanted to share it now. Then I have my yarn for the Steven West mystery knit along. So I'll link down below the link to the Ravelry page in case you are interested and you don't know what's going on. So yay! So excited. All right, that was everything for today. I feel so inspired and happy to talk about my knitting. I feel like I have a lot of fun stuff going on. So I hope I inspired you in any way and that you got some knitting in, because this was another like 45 minutes of knitting time. So I hope you enjoyed doing that. And please let me know what you've been working on so you can inspire me too. That would be really nice. And yeah, make sure to follow along if you're interested in my next upcoming videos. I hope to see you next time again. Thank you so much for watching.